There are dozens and dozens and dozens of laws that are set to take effect January 1st here in the state of Illinois. If you recall, during spring session, the state legislature passed, I think, 665 laws. Bills, rather. Of course, a bill doesn't become a law until it's signed by the governor, but the governor signing the vast majority of those. I think he only vetoed like 3 of them, mandatory vetoed a couple of them. So all of these laws set to take effect January 1st. Some of them took effect immediately right when he signed them. But when you go and look at some of the reports from the state legislature, and as far as all the different laws that there are, you can follow along by going to the Illinois legislature and looking at the legislative reports online at ilga.gov. I'll show you really quick how you can find that. So go to ilga.gov. All right. And then under here, you'll see reports and inquiries. If you click on legislative, I should probably flip over here. There you go. So if you go to ilga.gov, and then you click on legislative reports and inquiries, you click legislative reports, and there, if you scroll down, keep going, go all the way down to standing reports. All right. They're periodically updated. But if you click on public acts synopsis, you will see, and also public acts by effective date. That'll give you, these are all the bills that the legislature passed during spring session, all right? All the bills the legislature passed during spring session. There are 12 pages, and on each page, dozens and dozens and dozens of bills with the effective date. So you can see a lot of these took effect when the governor signed them, but others set to take effect on January 1st. So here, you've got just scores of measures that take effect January 1st, and it's quite an extensive list. So myself, I'm going to delve into some of these that are going to take effect January 1st, again, just in a handful of weeks here, 2.5 weeks or so. But then you've also got a different way you can look at this by the public acts and a synopsis of the public acts. If you click on that, it'll actually give you, it's 444 pages, but you can go through and read all the legalese of all of these bills and when they're set to take effect. You know, this one, for instance, took effect May 10th of this year, but others, it'll tell you that take effect on January 1st. Whenever we find those particular measures, those obviously are going to be interesting to highlight. So again, you can pour through all this yourself, but that's not the only laws taking effect, because Governor J.B. Pritzker on Friday, he signed 17 bills. And in my reporting for the Center Square, you'll be able to find this at the Illinois page. Go and check it out, because we do break down, you know, the measures ranging from lifting the state's nuclear moratorium to addressing electric vehicle policies, to even, lifting the fees on certain players in the cannabis industry. These were all measures that the governor signed on Friday that were passed during veto session. So again, kind of, some civics 101 in the state of Illinois. You've got 2-year general assemblies. They have a 2-year term. We elected as a state the General Assembly that's in session now. We elected them in 2022, and in January of this year, they opened up a new 2-year session. So they've finished out this calendar year. They're going to come back for another calendar year, and they are going to be taking up measures that they probably even filed at the beginning of this year. So still a lot to happen with the General Assembly, but with each year in the 2-year session, you've got a spring session that happens, and the thing they have to do there is pass a budget, right? It's always the big thing of contention is a budget. So they went ahead and they passed a budget, but they also passed hundreds of other bills. As I said, 665 bills they passed, which the governor enacted most of them, vast majority of them. Only like 4 or 5 he didn't enact as is. But regardless, you've got spring session where they deal with that. The deadline is May 31st to pass things with a simple majority. And then over the summer, they go back to their district, they hang out, they do politicking, they do the state fair, and then they come in for fall, what's considered a veto session. All right, fall veto session, they take up whatever they want, but really the focus is supposed to be on any bills the governor vetoed over the summer, from which they passed in the spring. So, veto session happened, but they didn't just deal with some vetoes. They also dealt with a whole host of other things. So let's go back and check out the bills that the governor signed. 17 of them. One of them, House Bill 2473, lifts the moratorium on new construction for nuclear reactors. But the original bill that passed had some language the governor didn't like. He wanted to focus on small modular reactors. So they ultimately did pass a measure that brought all the language together and address the governor's concerns. They passed that and the governor signed that. That's going to be effective June 1st of 2024. But that just allows for enough time for the various rules to be put together to regulate that. You also have effective January 1st, the Electric Charging Act is amended by clarifying which of the act's requirements apply to newly constructed residential homes. This measure was contentious when it originally passed in the spring, because there were concerns from home builders. This is going to increase the cost of a new home, requiring that some kind of, electric vehicle charging station be installed. And there were talks about, is it per parking place? Is it, can they just put the conduit in there? And then if the homeowner wants to have an electric vehicle charger there, they can put one in there at their own cost. Or is this going to be forced onto the builders? But apparently they went ahead and had to modify that despite passing to clarify which of the Act's requirements apply to newly constructed residential homes and which apply to new and existing residential units. Another measure they passed, Senate Bill 1769 that the governor signed on Friday. It exempts law enforcement vehicles from the requirement that passenger vehicles purchased or leased by state governments must be zero-emission vehicles during January 1st of 2030. This was something that was debated even over the spring session as to, you're only requiring that state agencies have electric vehicles or zero-emission vehicles, which I think leaves it open to possibly include hydrogen or hybrid type vehicles. But either way, the questions were, what about, are you going to force this on municipal governments? Are you going to force this on county governments? The state said, no, we're just going to do state agencies right now. So they then had to come back and amend it further during veto session, because there were concerns from law enforcement. If you're going to have the Illinois Emergency Management Agency, they can't necessarily operate with electric vehicles in the time of an emergency where the power might be out for a week or if not more. What about, state police? What about the fire marshal? So emergency vehicles apparently getting a carve out from Senate Bill 1796 that the governor signed on Friday. Also on Friday, the governor signed a bill that's effective immediately. It waives the license fee for existing cannabis transportation organizations, and it lifts those fees through January 1st of 2027, among several other changes. There's also changes to the first responder pensions in Chicago. You've got pension changes for Chicago police. I believe that one changes the birth date requirements that people are able to get the 3% compounded COLA. But there are also some changes to the Chicago firefighters police pension fund, rather. So some interesting things there as well. So those are just some of the laws that the governor signed on Friday. 17 of them altogether. But leading that, of course, I think is top of mind for a lot of people is the lifting of the nuclear moratorium. So you've got that at play. But again, you've got just dozens and dozens and dozens of different laws that are set to take effect on January 1st that are going to hit all kinds of different ways, from driving regulations to child labor to how gender inclusive data reports. You got equal pay. You've got a whole host of other things that are going to go into effect on January 1st. Not to also mention that you've got the state's minimum wage that's going to increase as well on January 1st. So a lot of things to consider, especially heading into the new year. But we'll do what we can to keep you guys up to date on all of that and more. I'm Greg Bishop. Hopefully you guys have been informed, and stay tuned. Of course, you could like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Appreciate you guys being with us each and every weekday morning. And of course, you can catch these segments and more just by subscribing to Bishop on Air on YouTube. So we'll see you back here in very short order tomorrow, about the same time. All right, we'll be back at it. So stay tuned. It is Bishop on Air. Appreciate you guys.